Hello, Internet, and welcome to Ship of the Week, a show where I take your suggestions and try to build them in under an hour. I'll take viewer ideas for ships, vehicles, or other machines, and when the timer starts, I have just 1 hour to design and build something that fits whatever specifications are set out for me. If I can't finish or the ship doesn't work as intended, it gets scuttled. Ships that do work will be published to the workshop for all to enjoy. Time to hop in and find out what we'll be doing this week in Ship of the Week. This week we're going to be doing a slightly different challenge, and this is kind of unique in that we're changing the challenge itself. So normally we do things with a 1 hour timer. This week we're going to be trying to make a Star Wars style speeder using small grid batteries, aiming for a 1 hour flight time in 30 minutes or less. Just like a pizza. So this was requested by Apex Alpha Gaming, who has been with the channel for a little bit. The what they laid out is what I just laid out. I do have a slight addition though, in that I have a special script I know of that may make this work a lot better and kind of behave as we'd actually want. So, yeah, I guess we dive on in. Alright, so here we are on lovely Earth Desert Land. Seems like a fitting spot. We have 30 minutes on the timer, so without further ado, let's get rolling. Okay. So the first thing I am going to want to do is get myself a little stalk. In the past I've built these off of, where the heck are reactors? In the past I've built things just straight off of the sort of whatever spawn vehicle I have. I'm going to do something a little different because it's, you know, a good bit of tutorializing. So if we build ourselves a nice big stalk, you know, this way, then on it, slap a reactor, use Shift F10 to bring up the spawn menu, and scroll down to the bottom to spawn uranium in it. So what this is going to do, there's now uranium in this reactor. Whenever I build batteries and stuff onto the stalk, so the whole time while I'm building the actual ship, it's going to be getting charged up, which is handy. We're going to need that because, well, I guess I could just hand wave that, things got charged. But I don't want to do that, so we're going to do this. So yeah. Now the next thing, because this is a 30 minutes or less build, I kind of had the idea it would make sense for it to be kind of like a pizza delivery ship. I'm sure they had pizza at some point in Star Wars.
Fuel
Yeah, I don't need fuel. So, yeah, pizza delivery, and what better thing to deliver pizza than something that looks like a giant flying slice of pizza. So, let's turn on our... Oh, it's not gonna do as I wish. I want to have mirror mode on just for ease, but... There we go. So, flying slice of pizza. I figure that can look somewhat Star Wars-y. We'll do some interesting greebling. I guess it'll also... Right now, it'll also look a bit like a very tiny, Star Destroyer, so that works as well. Yeah, I think that'll be something. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do... This is a fairly simple idea. I'm basically just gonna fill the entire inside with small batteries and then carve out where I don't need them. because this thing needs so much, well, because I'm trying to build this with small batteries and it needs to be able to fly for an hour, I feel like I'm going to need them. There we go, and I purposely left this little gap area because I think it could be kind of neat to make it look, actually I may do it slightly differently, but have a little bit of a sort of gap in there, just because that's very Star Wars-y. Yeah. So it sort of looks like a pizza sandwich, which isn't really what I was going for, but here we are. It should give plenty of room inside to kind of build stuff. I actually have some more battery room. Now, I may do something with the paint, because in true Star Wars fashion, this inner bit would look like machine exposed stuff. And I'll probably do some of that because I'm thinking in there is where the thrusters are going to live. But let's maybe first off, we'll make a gap in there. So, thrusters, where do you live? Yeah, I think I'll use standard, sort of traditional thrusters. I do wish... I kind of wish that I had more shapes in half block. It would not be very useful normally, but if I could have sort of just the lower half of all of these 2x1s. That doesn't exist, right? No, I don't believe so. That would make this more slim and svelte. But I think this will work. So that's going to be our lifting thrust. And actually, this is good because in Star Wars, the Star Wars universe, generally you can't see the sort of lifting and propulsion. You can see generally sort of like forward jet turbines, which we'll probably put on here. But the things just sort of float over the ground. So here I should be able to cover that up and no one will know how this ship is propelled. We'll do a similar thing. Yeah, that'll be fine. So similar thing there. Maybe similar up here for the reverse thrust. Unfortunately, I think those will get in the way. So, okay. That is something. Let's do... turn off mirror mode now. If we have... thinking the cockpit back here, kind of well off to one side and way back, so you've got the nice long front end. It's very Star Wars-y. Can have that in. I maybe use this spot here for equipment-y stuff. I'll go ahead and pop in this programmable block. We'll need that later. Now, I could add some other seats along here. I don't know if they would make much or be super useful. One, you'd be able to see under to like batteries and thrusters and stuff. Unless I use a rover cockpit, but like if I just, why do you, there you go. If I just use seats like this, doesn't quite work. Additionally, it kills the sort of asymmetry. And I feel like that's a thing in Star Wars that you want, is just a little bit of asymmetry, kind of tastefully applied to make it feel like something semi-industrial. So I think we'll do that. Maybe what we do... So because this is... Oh, I should use some of these heat vents. Because this is sort of spec'd the idea of a pizza delivery vehicle, I'd be tempted to, like, slap a cargo container in here. But I feel like it'll be too big. Let's just... give it a try. I can't go much more forward than that because of the lifting thrust. I guess I could move the lifting thrust in a block. Have it right down the center. So if I did that, I could have the turbine right here to propel it, and it's sort of in the middle, but I think it's too in the middle. Yeah, that's something, but it still looks a little doofy. Let's go a little bolder, maybe. So, if I... This will be tricky because I need clearance for that. Maybe if I do... like so, but back a block. That's something interesting. Okay. Is it perfect? No. Is it even perfectly logical? No. Do I actually think it would work better? I did all this detailing on this thing. I think it may actually look better. That back over one. That there. Okay. So, we'll ignore the fact, no longer a cargo container. Because, I mean, a pizza delivery guy, they don't tend to have... I mean, they do tend to have trunks in their cars. But, you know... they don't tend to use them. So, you can just... You'll have the pizza in your seat. It's a Star Wars-y sort of speeder. There's probably cargo in, like, a hatch hidden somewhere. I think that helps keep the balance looking right. I may even, if we get a little exotic, yeah, it does look better. Shrunk down one. Hmm. Yeah, we'll have it like that. I think it'll work decently well. Let's do our quick cover up of those panels. Then I guess we detach. Okay, so it's got 1 hour of flight time in a hover. 28 minutes with the thrust. And we max out when going 2 directions. I do like the vents, how they flare up and then close. I mean, it has a 1 hour flight time now.
Fuel critical.
Could I stick? Okay. Oh, I actually could. Oh, dang it, but I can't. Okay. We're gonna get a little silly. So, right. So that, and then this down here. Because we are covering this area up, well, we weren't, but because we can cover this up with the flat panels and it'll sort of make sense, we will just have this be pure electric power. Okay. Now, what I need to do... Rusty. This feels like it would be a yellow ship. Have some black highlights. And then... what looks mechanical? Not really much, while still looking decrepit, so... we'll just do a black band. It'll kind of get the idea across. Okay. Yeah, that looks like something. So the last thing to do... go in here, find... there are a lot of batteries. Programmable block. So, the script I plan to use, it is called the Hoverbike script. I didn't write down in my notes who it's by, but it'll probably say it here. Hinge steering. Yes, by Max. Max's Hoverbike script. So what this does, and I don't know if this script is still operational, but it essentially lets things work sort of hovering, so it'll detect the ground, the level you are above the ground, and adjust so that you can just push forward and the thrusters will keep you at that altitude. So, what we need to do is create a group that contains thrusters, Yeah, thrusters and cockpit for our case, and call it hover bike. There we go. Now we run init, I think, right? Yeah. Okay. What do you mean? There's a group called Hoverbike. I made it. Okay, let's recompile. Run again. Alright, well, let's just try... Oh, it did something. So I ran it with auto. That should initiate it. So let's just fly and see. Yeah, so you can see we're on very flat terrain. Is there a hill? Oh, there's a tree. Okay. It does not calculate trees. If I go maybe towards these hills. This thing also does not have a ton of thrust. But, so you can see I'm kind of coming up on terrain. The thrusters are thrusting. Now, it's not perfect, but you can see I did not do that. I'm only pushing forward, and it is calculating the height to travel. I did do a sort of roll to try and turn a little better. Okay, so it doesn't control amazingly, but... Oh, here goes the timer. There it goes. Okay. So we were done building, but I think I was done building anyway. Yeah. It's not perfect, but it feels pretty Star Wars-y. Shaped kind of like a pizza. And it's hovering. So I guess the next thing to do is put it through a little bit of testing, see if it meets the criteria we need it to meet, and then make our decision. So, off we go to that. Alright. So, here we have the P122A, or Pizza Speeder, built in almost exactly half an hour, ready to come to you in about half an hour, and probably with about that long of a flight time, which isn't ideal, but this is what we got. So, I mean, there aren't too many sort of rigorous tests to do with this thing. I am going to go ahead and blueprint it, just so that I can blow this one up. I mean, I guess task 1 is just kind of set it going and see how far it can fly. Now, one thing I am going to do real quick, and as is often the case, I've forgotten some of the important setup, but, I mean, that kind of tracks with everything. I'm going to make a group for the reverse thrusters, or retro thrusters, so that I can toggle them on and off. There are some controls I can do to make it so I can, like, raise and lower the altitude that the thing hovers, or I could land. I could set that up, but they aren't critically important for the test, and when I've tried before, they didn't work. So, yeah, this is where we are. Right. So with that control, I can turn off so I can just kind of cruise forward, which is important. When we're hovering here, we do have 1 hour of hover time. Now, this is a bit loose. The goal is an hour of flight time, and I think you'd struggle to make the argument that this is flying, what we're doing right now. It's also going down. Now, funnily enough, had I not been asked to do it with small grid batteries, this thing is large enough I could have fit down the middle 2 large grid batteries, which I was thinking about doing before I remembered the requirement. So if there were 2 large grid batteries on this thing, it would have absolutely no power troubles at all. And depending on... no, I probably won't change that for the upload, but if you like this thing and want to use it for your stuff, you could just change that, just basically grind out the center, kind of from the heat vents at the front down to the mounting bracket for the thruster, and fit 2 large grid batteries in there, cover them up, don't cover them up, kind of whatever you want to do, and it would probably actually have multiple hours of flight time and be a very useful vehicle. But as it is now, let's see what else it can do. So, when we get going, I do love, and I didn't change anything about the vents, that's just how they do, but I do love that they flare open as you start accelerating. It does try to keep you above, though there is some value in using the old mouse to angle yourself to what you want to do, because it's not always the best at it. And that's the thing with this script that I think is actually really cool. Because it's using thrusters and basically just controlling them for the altitude, as you travel, based on how much excess thrust you have for lift, that's what controls your going up and down. So unlike the sort of hover engine mod that actually adds little hovery blocks to the bottom of your ship, this has more room to fail. There is design criteria and flight criteria to where you can't just slap them on and expect no problems. And I think that's a really cool aspect of it. Let's turn off that so that we coast. But yeah, you can also bank. I mean, it also, the feel of this mod... Oh, this hole may cause an issue. Oh, yep, it did. See, that's what I mean. You can crash and, Oh, I have no retro thrust anymore. Yeah, you can crash into terrain if you're driving recklessly, which I think is good because that's realistic. Ooh. You can also do weird things when you only have those thrusters. Interestingly, I think the script is actually designed to operate with just lifting thrust. Or at least there's a setting for that. Because it's designed to be used for a hover bike, not necessarily a hover ship.
Fuel critical.
Get rid of that. This is why we blueprint things. And pizza. Now, is it... Yes, the script is running. Perfect. So, what was I saying before? I think just the overall feel of when you're flying in this thing, zipping over terrain at high speed, it does feel right. It feels like you're flying something that's specifically, designed to skim over the ground. Which we don't really see in Star Wars as much, but I've always imagined as how it would be. It's not like... It's close to driving a car, but there are elements that are different. You are piloting a flying thing, even if it doesn't fly very high. And in some parts, in some worlds, they do fly high. They don't just skim over the ground. So, there's probably some deep lore that explains the difference, and people yell at me for not knowing. But yeah, no. I think in terms of be a Star Warsy feeling hover speeder, this ticks that box. Additionally, it's a pretty useful, just overall ship. Now, another benefit of using this script versus like the hover engine mod, you can see my thrusters down there. I don't know why I want this shot, but if I disable the script, if I just turn off the programmable block, I can fly this thing like a normal ship. Because it's got enough thrust in every direction and enough lift, it's not using anything special. I can turn this off and just fly around like normal. Or I can have it on, not have to worry about the altitude and skim along the surface. There's no real power saving for skimming along the surface, but it feels cool. So, yeah, that's another benefit. I have just thought of a pretty decent test. So there's an unknown signal over there. I am going to try and fly to that unknown signal and then fly back. Get whatever its content is and come back here. This thing is fast enough, it should have no issue getting there in time. But that'll be a good test of, can it handle terrain? Does it have a use? And not really super useful flight time test, but it will tell me if it has enough flight time to be, you know, useful for something. And I think I went the wrong way. Maybe we do it in first person to get that real speed or feel and increase the chance of smacking into the ground. It does definitely move quick. Ooh, 3 meters. Having that indicator to tell you how close you are to the ground really does, does make you pay attention. Having that be the only way. I mean, it's scary when I'm seeing it near the ground. So I assume there's somewhere around this mountain. And you can still like do jumps and get air. I mean, it's not particularly useful. As I said, it's not like I'm saving power versus if I were, oh no, ooh, that was close. Not like I'm saving power versus if I were just flying. But there is something to be said about doing things this way. This just feels fun. And I guess in theory, if something goes wrong like that, I'm relatively close to the ground, so in fact, I lost most of my thrusters, but I'm still flying. I can't turn. You can also, as I just did, hitting space makes you go up, so you can sort of navigate over stuff and then come back down. It's a really useful little script. Okay. Now let's see if I can stop. Okay. I'll leave it hovering there. Hello, signal. Give me a badger. Ooh, skeleton boots. That's... could have been a badger. Take that, leave the rest. Now, the one thing, because it hovers so high off the ground, I could make it more realistic by having it hover lower. You would want more excess thrust to make that viable. But you do have that option. I'm going to take a shortcut. because I remembered I can do this. I can coast up here, and then once I get up here, it'll detect the ground. I'll begin falling. I should kind of bounce off it. Oh, that's a hillside I'll hit. But yeah, I can just sort of fly it down like a ship. And then there's the ground. The engines flare up and I'm back. No stopping is again a slight issue. Whoop. That tree will help. There's that. Then if I hit Z. Alright, that's another benefit. You can turn off your inertial dampeners, and because it's doing with thrust override for the thrusters, the script will keep working. Okay.
Fuel
Well, we'll set
critical.
that there. Maybe we spawn in a final one for the verdict. So, barring the one little thing of the hour flight time, it has an hour under some flight conditions. It just, those flight conditions are static. But in reality, a 1 hour flight time at the speeds these things can go isn't all that critical, and you could fix it fairly easily. I think I'm gonna call this a success. So yeah, the pizza speeder. Beyond the workshop, you can take it, update it, modify it. There are things you can do to make the script a little bit better to suit your tastes. There's a way you can use a camera so that it can fly over grids, because currently if there's like, you know, a station, it'll just smash into it. But yeah, I think to me it feels Star Warsy, it feels speedery, and it was made in half an hour or less. So yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to check out any of the other stuff I've done, and until next week, bye bye.